Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Care for the Culture. It is officially the end of March. We are just waiting for Kayla to come on. There she is. Let me bring Kayla in and we'll get our conversation started today. Hello. I'm not sure why it's not letting me accept you, Kayla. Let's see. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Happy Monday.
Okay.
There you are. It was giving me a hard time today.
Listen, me a hard time. I was about to say not on the lives too. I can't be added to anything.
Right. It is a mess today.
It is, but glad to see you.
It feels like it's been forever.
I know, but it was nice to take a little break, have some time off and stuff. So happy to see you now in a more rested place.
Yes. I needed a break last month, y'all. I was going through it. And
Yes.
I was just like, I can't. I just need some time. So thank you for holding space for that. And thank y'all for being back with us as we get back to our monthlies.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, everybody, for dropping in. Hi, hello. My name is Kayla, and I am a yoga psychotherapist, also the founder of The Well Healing, which is a community centered offering for marginalized folks of color and queer folks. Welcome.
Yes, and I am Katrina Long, aka Callie, also a holistic therapist, and I am the owner of Manifesting ME Wellness, which is a holistic mental health service here in Los Angeles, California, also dedicated to BIPOC and LGBT people, just helping us to get well, right, in this culture, in this world, and all the things that are happening. Today, Kayla and I are going to be talking about the ways in which we might not feel as well or feel worse, even as we move through our healing process before we start to feel better. So I'm happy to jump into that conversation. But before we do that, Kayla, how you feeling today?
I am, so let me pause and really check in. How am I doing today? I'm doing well today. I was woken up by the rain. So we're in LA, California, and it was super rainy, windy. It was sunny for a minute. Now it's kind of looking great. But anyhow, so it woke me up, I think, really early. So I'm good. Probably need a nap later, but I'm solid. How are
I
you
hear all of
doing?
that. I hear all of that. I was thinking about this as I was getting set up because I always want to make sure that I'm authentic in that response.
Yeah.
Um, and I was noticing I'm feeling tired. My sleep has been a little off, which is
Mm-hmm.
normal for me around menstruation time. So I'm in that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also was noticing, like, energetically, I feel light. And that was interesting for me because I don't remember feeling energetically heavy. And
Hmm.
so I was just noticing, like, oh, there's a lightness here that's different. And so just wanting to, like, as I was noticing that, like, okay, let me take some time and sit with that after this and
Mm-hmm.
explore what maybe that's about or how I can kind of sit with that and hold space for that because it feels really nice. And yeah, I don't remember feeling heavy, but like there's lightness, and that could be anything. Like it's spring, and sometimes I feel better in springtime, so it could be that. It
Yeah.
could just be getting some stuff done at work and just feeling good. But I don't know. I'm gonna sit with that for a little bit and see where that takes me. But yeah, there's lightness happening in my energy fields.
Yes. Well, I love that. And I'm really glad that you're feeling that way. I was just talking with one of my loved ones about how we don't often, we meaning specifically like black folks, black women, black femmes, like recognize how good we can or like are supposed to feel. So it's like the moments where it's like, actually, this feels lighter, or like, I don't know, we
Yes,
can get so accustomed to like the heavy energy feeling like a norm or something. So I'm just glad that you are feeling lighter right now, feeling good. Folks tuning in would love to know how y'all are feeling today as well. How are you doing out there? Yes, authentic feelings, please, in here. Always
yes.
want it real. So sounds like we both need a nap after this, but
It doesn't help that it's still kind of like cold and rainy and like, yeah, it's gray. Like, it makes me want to get in the bed for sure.
Same, same. But glad to be kikiing with y'all for now,
Yeah.
and very excited to get into today's topic. So I was definitely thinking about, yeah, feeling worse before you might feel better in therapy,
Mm,
and um in general, just maybe us walking through some of the process of therapy and like a
right.
couple of misconceptions that I feel like are pretty common. I'm sure you've come across it
Okay.
in your practice too. But we can start with the just in general feeling worse before you feel better. So I'll just dive right in on what I was thinking about
Okay.
for that. So you come to therapy, right? And the idea is I'm going to talk about my thoughts and feelings so that I can process whatever it is that's on my mind, on my heart,
Right.
and be in a different space is the, I think, ideal that people are coming in with. Like, I'm going to feel
Right.
differently about this thing, feel better about myself or in general.
Right.
And that's not incorrect, right?
Right. That is the goal. Absolutely. Yes.
Right. What I have had a couple of conversations about with loved ones and with my clients, though, is the journey in between our start and when you
Yes.
might feel a sense of relief for whatever it is that has brought you in.
Yes.
And the feeling worse part of the journey is because, in order for us to get to a different relationship with whatever it is that we're talking about, we first have to look at the thing square in the eye
Yes. Yes.
and deal with it. And sometimes that part in therapy can feel really uncomfortable at best, or even, you know, feel really challenging or painful in
Absolutely.
its most extreme. So, yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I love that you brought this up because I think there is this misconception, and I would say a lot of times when clients start working with me, they're coming like in crisis or just outside of
Mm-hmm.
a crisis. Like
Mm-hmm.
they've been having an experience for a while, they've tried everything that they can think of to try, and that they're at their wits' end, and so
Yeah.
there's this I need relief now.
Urgency.
Right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
so we're
yeah.
coming into this space of like, I want to feel better like tomorrow because I've been doing this for too long already, right?
Mm.
And then there's, oh gosh, every time I think about this, I think about I've had a couple clients who, after the first session, literally came back and were like, so I'm here, but I almost didn't come back.
Yeah,
We have
yeah,
to have like a really honest conversation. And I try to let people know after that first session, and I remind them after we have really heavy sessions, like, you might have a really rough week. You might feel really tired. You
yes.
might feel more emotional. You might feel very vulnerable. Like, there might be a lot of things happening in your body that feel really uncomfortable rather than better, especially the
Right.
first few sessions or anytime we have really heavy sessions, because we're
Mhm.
just like unloading a lot of things, and your
Yeah.
body and your spirit, everything has to then readjust and negotiate these things differently than you have been. And so
Mhm.
we always like laugh about it and we talk about it. I'm like, great, good job for you for coming back. This is normal. Like, that means you're doing
Right.
what you're supposed to be doing, right? Like, you're feeling the feels, and that's important. But I think it
Right.
is this misconception that I'm going to start therapy and everything's just going to start magically getting better.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we're not magicians.
Which,
We're wonderful, but we are not magicians.
yes, 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 yes. Thank you so much for saying the magician part, because I do think there is a sort of like a like magical ish kind of like perception of it. And if you imagine, if you go to a medical doctor with a
Right.
cut, right? First thing we got to do is get in there, clean out the wound. Might have to throw some rubbing alcohol on there. That doesn't
Right.
feel
When
good. Now
things
we
go
gotta
hurt.
go
Right.
right. Gotta bandage it up. That might not feel good, but it is the necessary process of getting into that tender place, right? So in
Mm-hmm.
therapy, that might look like having to talk about or think about or feel through something that is uncomfortable. You're feeling sensations in your body or whatever that looks like for you, but you, you have to feel it to heal it. As cliche as it
Right.
sounds, that really is true. And so, yeah, there is often going to be, especially in the beginning while we're figuring out what it is that's going on, or if we
Right.
do have future sessions where we're again touching on something that's a little bit more vulnerable or sensitive, like during your
Mm-hmm.
week you might feel more emotional, you might feel a sense of fatigue because it is real work, like
Absolutely.
emotional labor that is happening in therapy. And I don't think folks always take that as serious because you can't see the sweat and you're not
Right.
physically lifting something up. But I tell people all the
Right.
time, we did some heavy lifting in here today. What does it look like to give yourself a soft place to land after our work? You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I think the piece that people, I don't even want to say that people are missing as if it's their fault, that maybe we as therapists don't do a good job of sharing, that the medical
Yeah.
system doesn't do a good job of identifying. But the piece that maybe is not being communicated or seen a lot of the times is like, okay, you might be coming to therapy because you're having this experience that you want to get rid of, but there are so many layers underneath that experience,
Mm-hmm.
and it's that work of getting to the layers, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the
Yeah.
times what's happening is a symptom of whatever else is going on, right? And so you're coming in because my relationship is not well, or because work, like, I don't feel good at work, right? But like, what are all the
Mm-hmm.
layers underneath that are creating
Right.
this relationship struggle, that's creating this lack of boundaries, that are creating these like people pleasing behaviors, that are creating these stressors in your life that are causing you to now be in relationship with this other thing in this way. And that thing that you are coming in for is often just the symptom. It's the way that this other thing is manifesting. And we have to kind of dig through the layers and figure out, where's the origin of this? How did this
Right.
begin? When did you start this behavior? Or how is this behavior serving you? And how would we like to shift that, right? If it's
Mm-hmm.
not serving you, or if you want something that serves you differently, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that part is the part that we often don't hear or say enough
Right.
when
Right.
we start a healing process, because it's like, hey, yeah, I want to come in because I'm feeling really anxious and I just want some coping skills, but where's the anxiety coming from and why? And
Hmm.
how are you able to move through that without getting down to the origin? We can't just throw some coping skills on top and you're going to be all right. Like, no. In order to really
Right,
move through the anxiety, we have to get down to where it began. And that's the
right,
hard work that then we're uncovering things that maybe you didn't even realize were stored in your body or in your mind that you were holding on to or creating this relationship with your emotions. And that's the
right,
piece that I think sometimes people are like, oh, I got to look at that. I wasn't planning on
right.
that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, thank you for naming that. And whole ass therapist, and it still happened to me in my own therapy. I said, how did we what are we talking about right now?
Right. How did we get here?
How did we
Right.
get here? And my clients, some of them have had the same thing. It's like, okay, I came in to talk about school. How did we get to my mom and them and what they did to me when I was 5? And it's like,
Right.
because that's what the process of really understanding ourselves in fullness and wholeness can look like. And yeah, that that's just so funny because that definitely happens as we start to peel back the layers.
Mhm.
And so in session, like that is labor that is happening. And I think another part of the therapeutic process that is a part of this as well, in terms of like therapy isn't magic.
Right.
I'm not a magician. Talking to me, I can't make you feel any different. And I am only getting to be with you for what, like an hour out of
Right.
your week. There are still a whole however many days that I'm not interacting with you,
Right.
that these experiences are still moving and showing up for you, right? So I think a piece of this as well, in terms of like feeling worse before we feel better, or like the surprises that can come up in therapy, is like um we can get the most out of our experience when we are also incorporating what we're processing in
Right.
session into the rest of our lives in between time. Um,
Absolutely.
and of course, this varies depending on what you got going on.
Yeah.
But again, talking with me for an hour out of your week isn't the solution for the fullness of the ways that like our experiences impact us as people.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, thank you for saying that because I think, yes, we do beautiful, wonderful, hard work and we can get to a lot of things in an hour sometimes that will be amazed. But I think it is important to acknowledge the ways in which we then show up after that work and how that then impacts how we feel and where things move, right? It's
right,
being able to take what we are learning and experiencing in the therapeutic process out into the world with us, even if it's just, okay, now I'm noticing that this is a behavior that I'm doing. And so I'm able to acknowledge
right,
it to myself. And from there, eventually getting to the point of adjusting that behavior or having a different conversation or whatever that action might look like. But the first thing we might be in is just noticing. And we might be in noticing for months before we
right.
get to a place of like
Yeah.
taking action or movement or whatever else that looks like, right? And I think that's important to
Mm-hmm.
notice is like, okay, I realize there's a thing happening here. There's a relationship to something else that's happening here. Now I'm going to be more aware of that. And it takes a while
Right.
of being aware before we can then shift the behaviors. It doesn't
Yes.
just change because we notice it necessarily. Sometimes it can, and that's beautiful. But sometimes it's noticing it for a while, sitting with it, and then moving and shifting and creating other relationships with it and discovering how it feels in our bodies and noticing how it comes up and when it comes up, what triggers it, who triggers it, right? All of these other pieces. And those are the pieces that are important to then the movement, right? To then coming into a
Mm-hmm.
place of action where, oh, not only am I noticing it, I'm actually able to shift it. And I think sometimes that noticing is the hard part. I think sometimes that's the part that doesn't feel good. Now I know what's happening and I can't shift it.
Right.
And that
Right.
feels even worse sometimes
Mhm.
than,
Mhm.
oh, I was doing this thing and didn't know why and don't know how to shift it. And now I
Right.
realize there's this thing happening and I don't have control over it. I feel
Right.
hopeless or helpless or out of control. And that is also discouraging in a lot of ways. And that brings me to this thought that I think there's a point in the treatment process when we come out of crisis and we come into a place where like we can start doing prevention and maintenance. And I think when we're
Mhm.
in that space, clients start to feel like a hurry or a rush, right?
Mm.
And they've had a little bit of relief. And so then it's like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm not spending every day feeling bad, right? And then it's like, oh, but then I have another day where there's an episode and it feels like I went completely backwards. But it's like,
Yeah.
no, you were just able to function okay for a little while, and that's good. But there are
Yeah.
still things that are happening that we need to move through. It's not over yet, right? And the
Right.
noticing, being aware sometimes is the worst part. Like now I'm aware of all of this
Right.
maladaptive, as they might say, behaviors that I'm engaging in, the ways that I've learned to survive, and
Yeah.
I'm mad at myself for that. And I don't want to
Mhm.
do this anymore, but I don't know how to shift it. So I
Mhm.
think there's also that layer. It's like it
Yeah.
comes and goes, the feeling worse before we feel better. It's not just at the beginning of therapy. Sometimes it's in the middle of therapy, and then we come back to it when we visit something else in therapy
Right.
or when we visit another healing process.
Yeah. Absolutely. I am so happy that you named the that change takes time and that our healing, our progress is non-linear.
Yes.
That is something that I in my own personal therapy have like run into of like I went I processed this already. I already dealt with this stuff. And
Girl, me too.
right, and how awareness is both like the thing that is so helpful in like giving us the opportunity to change and transform, and it also can feel really overwhelming to recognize,
Mhm.
oh, this is the way that I'm participating in my own stuff. All of these folks around, or a lot of the folks around me are actually maybe not as supportive as I thought, or
Right.
whatever it is that comes up in us beginning to really understand what it is that is happening. And that is something that is going to take time to first just
Yes.
recognize is happening, to feel with what that impact is, to come to a place where now I'm ready to do something about it. Like
Yes.
this is not something that is happening necessarily in one single session or
Right.
in any particular period of time. And I really want to give folks permission to have their therapeutic experience and to know that it's not supposed to look or feel any particular way,
Right.
and that actually if you're noticing that it's feeling a little more heavy than it was even before coming in, that isn't a bad or a negative sign. It is simply the experience of us being with the with the thing in that
Yeah,
moment. So
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I also think about kind of what you said in the beginning, this idea of like how we get so used to the heaviness. And I'm
Mm,
thinking about with clients, like a lot of the time we're so busy stuffing things and just moving through that, like, coming into therapy or any kind of healing process is unpacking all the things that we've stuffed down, and how
Right.
that in and of itself is uncomfortable, because when's the last time you actually felt any of this stuff rather than just
Yeah.
move through it or acted like it
Right.
wasn't happening?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that part too is like, oh shoot, now I actually have to feel this. Now I have to be present with it. Whereas I was kind of sweeping it under the rug or just like
Yeah.
tucking it in my pocket and keeping it pushing. And now this is a space where I have to really allow it to unravel and be with it. And
Mm-hmm.
that is a very different experience that is incredibly uncomfortable, which is why we don't do it all the time, right?
Yes. Right.
So
Right.
being
Right.
in that is also uncomfortable. Like there's so many layers of it that make it harder
Yeah.
before it's
Yeah.
easier.
And that's why I have so much compassion for folks who feel hesitant to start or get into therapy. Like,
Absolutely.
so many people have felt like if I go in there and I start talking about it, I feel like I will just never stop crying. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that is where having a solid support, whether that's a mental health therapist, your intuitive healer, whoever that person is for you, that's when their role is really coming to the fore, because as the therapist, we're working with our clients to create a container,
Yes.
so that we can hold the big feelings that are going to come up, right? And to also pace it as best we can so that it's
Absolutely.
not like we have to just crack open the dam and have you overwhelmed by the last however many years of stuff that
Right.
we haven't touched, right?
Right.
So I also want folks to know that, like, there is a way that we work together to soothe and titrate what it is that we're dealing with, but also
Absolutely.
it's fair enough to know that it's going to feel a little uncomfortable. Your therapist
Yeah.
might say some things to you where it's like, who do you think you are? And it's
Right.
because they're not with you
Right.
in reaching whatever it is, this goal or like transformation that we're trying to make happen. And
Yes.
change, transition is always a little uncomfortable, to do something new, to
Absolutely.
try something new, to hear something new.
Absolutely.
And that's
Absolutely.
okay. It's really okay to feel uncomfortable.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I'm glad you named that too. I think it is partly the responsibility of the therapist, and it's partly the dynamic of that relationship, therapist to client, to be able to notice when there's dysregulation
Right.
happening where maybe we cannot move further into this, and it's time to maybe pull back and say, okay, let's sit with what we have,
Yeah.
and then maybe do some coping, and let's work through like what it looks like to do some grounding and get you back in your body and get you
Yeah.
feeling okay. And maybe we just stay in that place for a few sessions, right? Maybe we stay in that place for months because we just don't
Yeah.
have it right now. Or maybe we come up out of that because we're not ready to get further into that and we go into something
Right.
completely different because
Right.
we're not there yet, and that's okay, right?
Right.
I think something that I'm very particular about doing with clients in the early stages is like, how do we get you some coping for like immediate, like
Mm-hmm.
feeling okay? It may not be relief necessarily, but you can
Mm-hmm.
ground and feel okay and kind of move
Right.
through it a little bit differently. And then we dive into the heavy stuff and get down to the bottom of things and the triggers and all of that kind of stuff. But you already have the coping, and we just keep revisiting them,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
some things you're already engaging in, and we just make schedules or find time to do them together. But then, you do them outside of session as well, so that when you have a hard session, you're not just going home and being mad at Katrina for the rest of the day, right? Or the rest of the week. You go home and you find some things that we've talked about, that we've made lists and we've
Right.
created schedules around. So then you visit those things, helps you to feel a little bit better. We come back, we talk about how it went, we revisit coping, we add in some new ones, and then we dive back into this to the work. And I think that is like the importance of the relationship with the therapist. And don't be
Absolutely.
afraid to say, this is a lot for me and I don't know if I'm ready to go there. Don't be afraid to say, last time was
Right.
really hard and I don't even want to visit that this week. Can we do something
Right.
different? Right?
Yeah.
Like all of that
Yeah.
is okay, because as much as we want to get to being healed, quote unquote, whatever that means,
Yes.
like
Hard quotes.
it's okay to know that like this is a journey and there will be waves and there will be
Yes.
ups and downs, and to sit with the moments where you had a breakthrough and you don't want to do that again for another 3 months, and that's okay.
Right. Yes. Yes. It's okay. Yeah. It really, and it's going to be a part of the experience because again, someone who is a therapist knows what this journey looks like, up and down, back and forth, still feeling blindsided in my own therapy and having to deal with the ebbs and flows. Your best
Absolutely.
is going to look different moment to moment, session to session, week to week, month to month. So, yeah, folks, just know that your journey is yours and there's no right or wrong way to go about it. So, as long as you have someone solid who can be with you while you are riding those waves, but know that the waves are a part of the journey for sure.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And you will get through them, whatever that looks like, and in whatever time. Like a little hope at the end of the tunnel, it'll come.
Yes, yes,
It'll
yes.
come. I haven't had a client yet who didn't get somewhere that felt different,
Yeah.
right? So we just noticed that it might take some time, but we'll get somewhere that feels different, where you can feel grounded and land and feel easier.
Yeah, it's worth it because you're worth it. Okay,
Yes.
so yeah. Woo! Anything more you want to add around that? This was a good one. I feel
This
like,
was a good one. I
yeah.
like this one. I feel like we could talk about this for a really long time, but I think
For
we
sure.
covered like a lot of the really good intricate pieces of it. And I think it's really just about knowing, like knowing that this is not going to be just a quick wham bam and I'm
Yes.
done kind of
Yeah.
experience. That this is life. You've been doing these things for a long time. You've had these experiences for a long time. It's not going to go away in a session or two. It's going to take some time, and that's okay. That's important. And you'll
Mm-hmm.
learn a lot along the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So go forth and ride those waves, everybody.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
man. Yeah, this was great. Well, any announcements or things coming up or that we can look for from you?
I don't think so. Manifesting Me Wellness is a little quiet right now. We are really focusing on therapy clients and really getting everybody in the one on ones to a good place. I'm about to take a vacation next week, much needed.
Yes.
We ain't doing nothing over here right now, and we okay with that. But you might see us doing something in the summer, but yeah, we're
Period.
chilling right now.
Are your people taking new clients?
Yes. So Yasmin
Okay.
is taking new clients right now. She is a Latinx therapist, California residents only, virtual therapy available. So feel free to reach out at Manifesting Me Wellness. You can follow us on Instagram and click the link in the bio to schedule a consultation call with her. Thank you for that
Yes.
reminder.
Absolutely, absolutely. Y'all got stuff going on. I know it. So therapy, there's an entry right there. I'm also in California taking on a couple of new clients. So again, yes, California virtual. Hit my bio or the Well Healings bio for that link. Stay tuned with the Well Healing. We have a community guest right now, Faye Hayes, who is talking about financial wellness and being a budding
Mm,
entrepreneur. Oh, and there's a really awesome
mm.
giveaway. So if you are a new business owner wanting to create your own website, want some help around that, branding, all the good stuff that I wish somebody was holding me by the hand in the beginning,
Right. Right.
Right. Check us out for that. And yeah, just stay tuned with us. Always got awesome folks coming through. So yeah,
Yes.
until the next time.
Beautiful. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
thank y'all for joining us. What a beautiful conversation. I will post it so y'all can catch the replay and let us know what you thought. Let us know how your journey has been, your experiences, and how you're moving through. And we will catch y'all next month.
Yes. See you next month. Send this to some friends. Let them know that we're talking about good stuff over here.
Yes,
Tapped in. So,
yes. Let them
see
know.
y'all.
Care for the culture. It's for all of us.
Period. All right, y'all. See you next month.
All right,
Bye,
girl.
Callie. Bye.